In the middle of Europe, surrounded by the likes of Germany and France, Luxembourg is the tiniest country in Hoi 4. No one would think of doing a world conquest with them. It would be mind-numbing. Well, I did, and it was. So mind-numbing, in fact, that I've been sitting on this footage for 4 years not wanting to make this video. This world conquest made me hate playing Hoi 4, and I haven't played it since. So who knows, this might be the last Hoi 4 video I ever make. The first thing I had to do as Luxembourg was simple: switch to fascism. The moment that was done, I instantly started justifying on the Netherlands. Once that justification finished, I joined the Axis so their troops would rush to the German border, and that's when I made my move. A series of paratrooper drops right into their undefended cities. The Netherlands collapsed fast. But now, the problem was world tension, way too high to justify on any of the democracies. Hungary had just turned fascist, and conveniently wasn't guaranteed by anyone. The perfect target. To make sure Germany didn't join in on the war and take Hungary from me, I paradropped on the border and then pushed my way in. After Hungary fell, I waited for Germany to invade Belgium. The moment they did, I pushed alongside them and secured all the territory I needed to form Leo Belgicus, which gave me extra manpower from the Netherlands and Belgium. France came next, and with German support, it was easy. Next came the UK. A few paratrooper drops around their port, a full encirclement, and they folded fast. Once I landed on the mainland, it was over. The UK Navy didn't matter when I was already inside their home turf. Soon Britain capitulated, and the peace deal was good. I got France, a chunk of the UK, and Luxembourg Raj, giving me access to their massive manpower pool. And with all this new land came resources, which allowed me to start production of my own tanks. At this point, Germany was next up, but I wasn't feeling confident that I could beat them in a 1v1. So I waited until Germany and the Soviet Union went to war with each other, where I left Germany's faction, started justifying on them, and once that justification finished, I rejoined their faction, where all of Germany's troops would move to the Eastern Front. And before the war even started, I was able to produce 6 of these tanks. Once all of Germany's troops were gone, I left the faction again and declared war. With the Germans away on the East Front, there's basically no resistance, and I'm able to push pretty deep into their territory. And even when the Germans start showing up, my tanks are able to push through them very easily. But it wasn't all without loss. I did end up losing 3 tanks to a really dumb mistake. They eventually pushed back, partly because my units mysteriously wandered off. I still don't know why, but I managed to stabilize. I pushed north, making a few clean encirclements. The real struggle was fuel. Luxembourg isn't exactly an oil superpower, so I built some refineries, stole oil from my puppets, and my tanks got rolling again. Then Italy, in a rare moment of intelligence, launched a naval invasion to cut off my northern front. But the second my tanks showed up, they ran for the hills. Typical Italy. After that, it was over. I steamrolled the last German cities. They decided to capitulate. And while I want to say Italy put up a good fight, after their naval invasion, you could guess what happened. My puppet France was already pushing through them before I got there. And once the tanks arrived, they punched through them so easy, I didn't even need to bring infantry. And with Italy now gone, the Luxembourg Empire owns Europe and most of Africa. Somehow, even though I own all of Germany, they've still escaped to the New World, setting up base in Belize instead of Argentina. So with Germany and Belize, there's only 3 major powers left: Soviet Union, Japan, and the United States. Before we take any of them on though, we're gonna go after Turkey first. Scratch that. Out of the 3 major powers, we're going after Japan first. We pushed through Turkey easily with our tanks, capitulating them in only 1 month. At the same time we were taking out Turkey, Japan's ally Siam joined the war, but it wasn't anything our puppets couldn't handle. Now Japan was far and I didn't have a navy, so my thought process was they were still at war with China, so I would also attack China, make my way up, and start fighting them there. I got a little overconfident from my last wins though. I pushed a little too far with my tanks and got my front line cut in half. Luckily I had a port though, so I was still getting supplies to my tanks. Their encirclement was short-lived though. Taking over more of Guanxi Clique, it was becoming apparent there was just not enough infrastructure for all these troops. So I started building a railroad. In the grand scheme of things, I probably should have just produced more transport planes and used those. Before it was even built, we were way past it. Pushing our way to their capital, we were still having those supply issues. On top of attacking across a river, which I don't remember, but it might have been a mountain tile too. So I'd finally gotten smart. I retreated some of my tanks back to resupply them with transport planes. The supply was still insanely bad though. By the time I got there, they were already running out of supplies. Yeah, that attack didn't last long. So in the meantime, while I'm not able to take this city, I thought I'd go put my sights on Japan. Japan had a much bigger navy than me, so instead of going that route, I thought I was just gonna island hop using my Air Force. Which, if you can't tell, paratroopers are probably one of my favorite units in Hoi 4. Which reminds me of probably my favorite Hoi 4 video I've made. Playing as Manchukuo, I ran paratroops and destroyed the allies in Asia. The video's old, so the editing's bad, and I'm also annoying, so be aware. We kept it going, taking the next island from Japan too. It was about time to check back to see how China's doing. And even after being nuked, the Chinese were still holding strong. And of course, this is when nationalist Spain decides to join. Luckily, I had a bunch of troops sitting in Germany, so I brought them down and we easily pushed through them. Now with Spain gone, it's time to go back to nuking China. We finally got the city and it only took 3 nukes. One good push later and China capitulated. After the peace deal, we got this weird penis looking China going into Japan. And while I want to just paradrop right into Japan, I don't have enough air bases to get air supremacy over their country. Now I lost the footage, but we were able to push pretty deep into northern China with the plan of building more air bases to get air supremacy over Japan. Which we still couldn't get it because we're a little too far away, so instead we're going for Korea first, right next to Japan. This should 100% get us the airports we need. Landing in Korea, I put my paratroopers on forced attack, and we instantly destroyed their unit. And now with the port secured, we started pushing out and brought the tanks in. Japan must have had most of their troops on the Chinese border because there was no one in Korea. And finally, now that we own Korea, we have enough airports for air supremacy in Japan. One historical Nagasaki nuke later and paradrop, and it's ours. And USA being USA can't just let Nagasaki get nuked. They decide to nuke Hiroshima too and land. USA has some kind of grudge, man. They just keep nuking them. And once my tanks arrive, we're pushing through Japan like butter, cutting off USA from expanding further. We grab the last few cities until they capitulate. And out of that peace deal, we got a massive Chinese puppet, took over Japan, and we got Spain and Turkey too. With the year being 1947, taking over the Soviets and USA is gonna be painful, so nukes are gonna become our new best friend. And we're gonna need them because it's time for the Soviet Union. Greece stabbed me in the back after I graciously left them alone this entire time. But don't worry, it's not a problem a few tanks can't fix. This war was a slugfest, but every war with the Soviet Union is one. I kept encircling their forces, but for every unit I killed, it felt like 3 more would replace them. We were definitely winning though, even though the Soviets had taken Africa from me. But with one more good push, we took Moscow, and the Soviets were only halfway to capitulation. That's painful. This war wasn't ending anytime soon. Instead of making you sit through all that, here's the bullet points. I killed this encirclement, created a spy network, prepared a collaboration government, pushed down south, nuked them, nuked them, nuked them, 12 million Soviets dead, nuked them, nuked them, nuked them, nuked them, took Leningrad, encirclement, nuked them, encirclement, nuked them, big push in the south, nuked them, encirclement, 14 million Soviets dead, last push down south, and finally the Soviets capitulated. But it isn't over yet. Japan had somehow become a major again, so it was time to go back to Asia. Since we've already ravaged Asia, this time it was a lot easier. Japan didn't have anything built up like it did before. So I easily just pair-dropped into northern Japan and Hokkaido, got a port, and made my way down. There was little to no resistance. But of course, it still wasn't over. Somehow, Mongolia was also a major now. So I rushed them down, and finally, it was over. Last but not least, the United States. Arguably the worst country to fight at the end. They just build forts everywhere. And being surrounded by 2 oceans doesn't help us either. There was no way I was going to beat their navy, so the plan was to airdrop into Florida. Oh yeah, there's no way we're going to get Florida. Time for plan B. We're gonna take one from the notebook of Germany and go around their defenses through Canada. Okay, big problem. I don't know when, but Poland is growing out of me now like a cancerous bulb, and the United States has navally invaded me basically everywhere. I'm just gonna try to hold these invasions back until we can capitulate America. Things aren't looking good. It's already been a year, and I'm barely holding them back in Europe. Luckily, I have a Chinese puppet that's hopefully gonna fill some gaps. But still, it's been painfully slow in America. It's starting to look up though. I think they've stretched themselves thin by sending too many troops to Europe, because we're finally making ground in America. Still, this is pretty scary, and they're taking a lot of my industry. They just made a massive push in Poland. We need to hurry up and capitulate America. Taking Florida, we continue our push west. America's leaving their country insanely undefended. It seems like they've moved all their troops to Europe, and they're pushing hard. It's down to the wire. With their lack of troops though, I'm going to try to snake to all the victory points before they can capitulate me. Perfect timing, I just got a collaborative government off, so LA is the last city we need to capitulate them. But of course, Hoi 4 isn't giving it to me that easy. Canada, Australia, and Mexico are now considered majors. Being too focused on America, I made a big mistake, and I got basically half my army encircled in Europe. It was time to fall back and create a defensive line. With all the United States troops gone in America though, I'm able to rush Canada and Mexico down super quick. And lastly, only Australia remained, which after navally invaded into them, we easily pushed across their country, encircling a few Australians, until finally it was over. The world was basically owned by Luxembourg, but I wasn't done yet. I annexed my puppets, conquered land, and even had a civil war. And if you made it this far in the video, and you don't want this to be my last Hoi 4 video, consider giving a like and subscribing.